U.S. Inflation Report, the impact of tariffs. July 2025 Inflation Overview. Headline inflation remained stable at 2.7% year-over-year, unchanged from June, largely due to decreasing energy and food prices. Core inflation, excluding food and energy, increased to 3.1%, exceeding the Federal Reserve's 2% target and indicating a significant rise in underlying price pressures. Tariffs, an increasing influence on inflation. President Trump's extensive 10% universal import tariff, along with specific tariffs for certain countries and products, is beginning to exert a greater impact on prices. Categories sensitive to imports, such as household furnishings, toys, apparel, and footwear, are already experiencing substantial price hikes. In June, the U.S. inflation rate rose to 2.7%, up from 2.4% in May, while core inflation reached 2.9%, particularly driven by rising costs of items like furniture, appliances, and clothing. A report from Goldman Sachs predicts that by October, 67% of the costs associated with tariffs may be passed on to consumers, with core PCE inflation anticipated to rise to 3.2% by December, significantly above the Fed's 2% target. New York Fed President John Williams cautions that tariffs could contribute approximately 1 percentage point to inflation through the remainder of 2025 and into early 2026, potentially elevating inflation into the 3 to 3.5% range. The Washington Post emphasizes less apparent but crucial costs, reduced consumer choice, weakened supply chains, and increased pressure on low-income households as they allocate more of their budgets to tradable goods. What the Fed is communicating. Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, warned that tariffs are highly likely to increase inflation and may render inflation more persistent than previously expected. This could hinder the Fed's ability to respond swiftly regarding interest rates. Fed officials, including Austin Goolsbee and Susan Collins, are closely monitoring the situation to ascertain whether the rising prices are a result of excessive demand or tariff-induced supply disruptions, an essential distinction for formulating policy responses.